As artificial intelligence evolves from just a tool into something that actually makes decisions, a really fundamental question pops up for our civilization. When a machine acts on its own, who's responsible? And could it ever actually hold rights?
Okay, let's dive right in. Here's our roadmap for this explainer. First, we're going to define the problem. Then, we'll look at the arguments for and against giving AI legal status. After that, we'll explore some potential legal solutions, check out a few real-world cases, and finally, we'll talk about what all this means for our future together.
All right, first things first. Let's set the stage and make sure we all understand the key terms at the heart of what is really a massive shift for civilization.
So the crucial concept we need to get our heads around is legal personality. And this isn't about being human in a philosophical sense. It's a legal status. It basically allows something to participate in society under the law. To own things, make deals, and be held accountable. Without it, an entity is just property. But with it, it becomes a player in the legal game.
What's really fascinating is that this idea, it isn't new at all. We've actually been granting legal personality to non-human things for centuries. We call them corporations. I mean, think about it. A company can own property, it can sign contracts, it can go to court, but it doesn't have consciousness. This whole principle has been a cornerstone of modern commerce, and it's pretty much the main launchpad for this entire debate about AI.
So let's get into the arguments for doing this. The people who support this idea, they're not necessarily getting tangled up in philosophy. They're trying to solve some very real, very practical problems that are popping up right now.
At its core, this whole thing is really about accountability. I mean, when a self-driving car crashes, who do you sue? The person in the driver's seat? The car manufacturer? The developer who wrote the code? Granting the AI legal status could create a single, clear point of liability. And the same thing goes for an AI that creates, say, a brilliant new song or a groundbreaking invention. Who owns that copyright? This framework is all about providing clear answers to messy questions like these.
And the benefits? They could be huge. If there are clear rules, investors are way more willing to put money into AI development. Entirely new markets could open up for AI agents that can sign their own contracts and manage assets. And maybe most importantly, a legally recognized AI could be required by law to meet specific safety and compliance standards, which would make the technology safer for all of us.
But of course, it's not that simple, not by a long shot. So now we have to look at the other side of the coin, which moves away from practical problems and into some deep, philosophical questions about what it even means to be human.
Opponents of this idea argue that legal personality has always been tied, even if just implicitly, to qualities we think of as human. An AI doesn't have subjective experiences. It doesn't feel the color red or the sting of a mistake. It has no real intentions, no moral compass of its own. It's just running incredibly complex programming. And to grant it personhood, they say, is to seriously devalue the very things that make us human.
So here you have it, the core conflict laid bare. On one side, you've got this practical, pragmatic push for legal clarity and innovation, and on the other, you have this profound philosophical resistance, a warning that we might be watering down human responsibility and opening a Pandora's box of ethical problems if we start treating machines as persons.
Okay, so given this really intense debate, what's the path forward? Well, legal experts are trying to find a balance, exploring several middle ground solutions that could thread the needle between these two extremes.
So basically, there are four main models on the table. First, we could just treat AI simply as property, a really sophisticated tool, but a tool nonetheless, with no rights. Or, second, we could see it as an agent, kind of like a lawyer acting for a client. The third option is to give it a limited personality, a lot like a corporation has. And finally, we could create something totally new, a sui generis or unique legal status that's designed from the ground up specifically for AI.
And don't think for a second that this is all just a theoretical debate for some far-off future. These questions are already being tested in courtrooms and in legislatures all over the world. It's forcing us to make some big decisions, right now.
Let's just look at a few examples. In Arizona, there are already laws assigning a legal status to self-driving cars for things like registration and insurance. The U.S. Copyright Office has had to make rulings on whether art generated by an AI can even be copyrighted. Over in Wyoming, they now actually allow an AI to be a member of an LLC. And of course, the infamous DAO hack on the Ethereum blockchain raised all these thorny questions about who's liable when autonomous code goes rogue.
So this brings us to the final and, I think, most important point. The decisions we make today about how we treat AI in the eyes of the law, well, they're going to define our relationship with technology for generations to come.
Professor Viharkiskenov put it perfectly. He said, we are at a critical point. We aren't just writing laws for machines here. We are actively shaping the values and the rules for a completely new era of human civilization. One where we might no longer be the only intelligent actors on the stage.
So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. As we sit here and design laws for artificial intelligence, are we simply defining its place in our world? Or is this new form of intelligence fundamentally redefining ours?